You wake up before dawn in a wooden barracks that smells of unwashed bodies and damp straw. The cold seeps through the thin blanket wrapped around you. Outside, you can hear German guards walking past, their boots crunching on gravel. You've been a prisoner of war for 8 months now, ever since your plane was shot down over France. Every day is the same. Roll call, watery soup, hard labor, another roll call, then back to your bunk. But today might be different. Today, you and 3 other prisoners are finally ready to attempt what you've been planning for months. Escape. The plan began forming shortly after you arrived at the camp. You noticed that the guards changed shifts at predictable times. You observed that the fence near the latrine had a weak spot where the wire didn't quite reach the ground. You started saving bits of food, stealing scraps of civilian clothing from the laundry detail, and slowly, carefully digging a tunnel from beneath your barracks. Other prisoners helped, keeping watch, disposing of dirt in their pockets during exercise time, spreading it around the compound where it wouldn't be noticed. Now the tunnel is complete. It stretches 30 feet underground, coming up just beyond the outer fence in a patch of woods. You've picked tonight because the moon is dark and rain is forecast. The guards will be miserable and less attentive. Your identity papers are forged but decent. Your civilian clothes are hidden under your uniform. You have a compass made from a magnetized razor blade and a few German marks stolen from a careless guard. Your destination is Switzerland, about 200 miles south. The escape itself happens faster than you imagined. At 2 in the morning, when the guards are at their drowsiest, you and your 3 companions slip out of your bunks. The other prisoners watch silently, some nodding encouragement, others looking away, not wanting to know anything if interrogations follow. You crawl across the cold floor to the loose board you've carefully loosened over months. Beneath it is the tunnel entrance. Going down into that black hole is terrifying. The tunnel is barely wide enough for your shoulders. You have to crawl on your belly, pushing yourself forward with your toes, feeling the earth pressing down on every side. The air is stale and thin. You can hear your heart pounding in your ears. Behind you, someone is breathing hard, almost panicking. You whisper back to stay calm. Keep moving. It takes 20 minutes to crawl the 30 feet. 20 minutes of claustrophobic darkness, wondering if the tunnel will collapse, if the guards have discovered you, if this is all a terrible mistake. Then your hands touch cool air. You've reached the exit. You pull yourself up carefully, emerging into the woods like some creature being born from the earth. Rain is falling, cold and steady. You wait for the others, helping pull them out. Then you quickly cover the tunnel exit with branches and leaves. You strip off your prison uniforms and bury them, revealing the civilian clothes underneath. They're wrinkled and don't fit perfectly, but in the dark and rain you might pass for workers or travelers. You split up immediately as planned. Going in pairs is safer than traveling as a group of 4. You and a Canadian pilot named Jack head south. The other 2 will take a different route, hoping that if one pair is caught, the other might make it. You shake hands quickly, say nothing, and then you're moving through the dark forest, already putting distance between yourselves and the camp. The first 3 days are the most dangerous. This is when the Germans will search most intensely. They'll have dogs, patrols, roadblocks. Every policeman, every loyal citizen will be watching for escaped prisoners. You and Jack travel only at night, hiding during the day in barns, forests, abandoned buildings. You're constantly cold, constantly hungry, constantly afraid. On the first day, you hide in a drainage ditch as a patrol walks past, so close you can hear them talking about wanting to get home to their families. You hold your breath, pressing your face into the mud, certain they'll see you, but they pass. On the second night, you steal vegetables from a garden and eat them raw, so hungry that the dirt-covered carrots taste like a feast. You find a stream and drink until your stomach hurts, filling your stolen canteen. Navigation is difficult. You have your makeshift compass and you know you need to go generally south, but the terrain doesn't cooperate. Roads curve away from where you want to go. Rivers block your path. Towns force you to make long detours. You're constantly recalculating, constantly lost, constantly hoping you're still going the right direction. The hardest part isn't the physical difficulty, though that's real enough. The hardest part is the psychological weight of being hunted. Every sound makes you jump. Every light in the distance could be a patrol. Every person you see might turn you in. You start to feel like an animal, living minute by minute, thinking only about survival, about not being caught. Your old life, your family, your home, all of that starts to feel like a dream. This is real. The cold, the fear, the endless walking through darkness. On the fourth night, you have to make a crucial decision. You've reached a river, probably the Rhine, though you can't be certain. It's too wide and fast to swim across. There's a bridge downstream, but it will certainly be guarded. You need to cross, but how? You and Jack huddle in the bushes, watching the bridge. Two guards stand at the near end, checking papers of anyone crossing. It's late, but there's still occasional traffic. A farmer with a wagon, a couple on bicycles, a man on foot. Jack whispers that maybe you should try to steal a boat, float downstream, then cross where there are no bridges. But you've seen patrols along the riverbank, and you don't know how to navigate a boat in the dark without making noise. After hours of debate, you decide to take a risk. You'll wait until just before dawn, when the guards are most tired, then try to bluff your way across. As the sky begins to lighten, you approach the bridge. You've rehearsed your story. You're laborers who missed the last train, walking to the next town for work. Your German is passable but not perfect. Your papers are forgeries. If the guards look too closely, you're finished. Your heart is hammering so hard you're sure they must hear it. The guard barely glances at your papers. He's been on duty all night and just wants his shift to end. He waves you through with a bored expression. You walk across that bridge with steady steps, forcing yourself not to run, not to look back. Every step feels like a miracle. You're across. As you move deeper into Germany, heading toward the Swiss border, the nature of your journey changes. The immediate panic of the first days fades into a grinding endurance test. You've gone a week without real food. Your civilian clothes are filthy and torn. You've developed blisters that burst and bleed into your stolen boots. Jack is sick with something, feverish and weak, but you can't stop to let him recover. You start taking bigger risks because you have no choice. You knock on the door of a farmhouse late one night, desperate for food. An old woman answers. She looks at you for a long moment, sees through your story immediately, but says nothing. She goes inside and returns with bread, cheese, and sausage wrapped in cloth. She tells you in broken English that her son is a prisoner in Britain. She hopes someone is kind to him. She closes the door before you can thank her. Not everyone is kind. In another town, you're spotted by a local policeman who becomes suspicious. You run, sprinting through narrow streets, knocking over a cart of produce, hearing whistles and shouts behind you. You lose yourselves in a forest, running until your lungs burn and your legs give out. You hide for 2 days after that, afraid the entire area is searching for you. The psychological strain begins to show. Jack talks about giving up, about surrendering, about how maybe the camp wasn't so bad after all. You have arguments in harsh whispers, both of you too exhausted and scared to think clearly. You dream about being captured, wake up in panic, then realize you're still free, still running. The line between dreams and reality starts to blur. By the second week, you've covered maybe 100 miles. You're roughly halfway to Switzerland, but you're falling apart. Jack's fever is worse. You're both losing weight rapidly. Your clothes mark you as suspicious now, too ragged to be normal travelers. You need help, but asking for help means risking betrayal. You make contact with someone, the resistance. It happens almost by accident. You're stealing apples from an orchard when a man appears. He should call for the police, but instead he studies you and asks in French if you're trying to reach Switzerland. When you hesitate, he tells you that he helps people cross borders. He might be a trap, a Gestapo agent, but you're desperate enough to take the chance. He takes you to a safe house, a farmhouse cellar where you're hidden for 3 days. There are others there. A Jewish family fleeing persecution, a French resistance fighter escaping arrest. You're fed properly for the first time in weeks. Jack's fever breaks. You're given better clothes, updated papers, specific instructions about the route ahead. Your contact tells you the last leg to Switzerland is the most difficult. The border is heavily patrolled. Many who make it this far are caught in the final miles. The generosity and courage of these strangers stuns you. They're risking execution to help you, asking nothing in return except that you remember them, that you tell others what they did. You promise that you will. If you survive, you'll tell everyone. The final approach to Switzerland takes another week. Your contact has given you a route through the mountains, where patrols are thinner but the terrain is brutal. It's late autumn now, nearly winter. Snow falls as you climb into higher elevations. You're following paths marked in ways only escapees would recognize. A pile of stones here, a scratch on a tree there. Other prisoners have come this way before. Some made it, some didn't. You find evidence of those who failed. A grave marked with a simple cross. Frozen footprints that lead to nowhere, suggesting someone was caught. An abandoned pack with British insignia, the contents scattered by animals. Each discovery reminds you how close you are to joining them, how many things can still go wrong. The cold is the worst enemy now. Your clothes aren't made for mountain winter. You have no proper supplies. You and Jack take turns leading, breaking trail through the snow, keeping each other awake because you know that falling asleep in these temperatures means death. Your fingers and toes are numb. Your face is raw from wind. You're beyond tired, beyond hungry. You're operating on pure will now, on the simple stubborn refusal to give up after coming this far. On what you think is the 18th day since your escape, you see it, a marker indicating the Swiss border. It's just a stone with an inscription, easy to miss. But to you it represents everything. Freedom, safety, survival. But you're not across yet. The border itself is the most dangerous part. German patrols watch it constantly, ready to shoot anyone attempting to cross. You wait for nightfall, watching the patrol patterns. Guards pass every 20 minutes, walking the border with dogs and flashlights. Between patrols, you'll have a small window, maybe 15 minutes to cover 100 yards of open ground and reach the Swiss side. If you're spotted, they'll shoot. The Germans don't take prisoners this close to escape. When the moment comes, you run. Not a careful sneak, just an all-out sprint through the snow. Your legs are weak from weeks of malnourishment and exposure, but adrenaline drives you forward. Jack is beside you, gasping, stumbling, but moving. You can hear shouting behind you, German voices yelling to halt. You don't stop. A shot cracks out, then another. You don't know if they're aiming at you specifically or just firing to alert other patrols. You cross an invisible line. You're in Switzerland. But you keep running because you don't trust it, can't believe it yet. You run until you literally cannot run anymore, until your legs give out and you collapse in the snow. Jack falls beside you. You lie there gasping, waiting for more shots, for Germans to drag you back. But nothing happens. In the distance, you can see lights from a Swiss village. The sounds of pursuit have faded. Slowly, carefully, you stand up. You help Jack to his feet. Together, you walk toward those lights. Every step feels surreal. You're waiting to wake up back in the barracks, for this to be just another dream. But it's real. The village is real. The Swiss flag flying in the center of town is real. When you walk into the police station and identify yourselves as escaped British prisoners, the Swiss officer's expression of weary recognition is real. You've made it. The aftermath of escape is strange and anticlimactic. The Swiss intern you, technically neutral, but the conditions are paradise compared to the German camp. You have real food, warm beds, medical care. Jack's frostbitten toes are treated. Your infected blisters are cleaned and bandaged. You sleep for nearly 20 hours straight, your body finally able to rest. The nightmares start soon after. In them, you're always back in the camp, or running through the forest, or drowning in the tunnel. You wake up panicking, unsure where you are. The psychological scars of those weeks will take years to heal, if they ever fully do. You've learned what it means to be hunted, to live in constant fear, to survive by cunning and luck and the kindness of strangers. You eventually learn that the other two men who escaped with you were caught on the second day. They're back in the camp now, probably in solitary confinement, certainly being punished. You feel guilty for your success and their failure, even though there was nothing you could have done. You learn that your escape and others like it actually helped the Allied war effort in a small way. Every prisoner who escapes forces the Germans to divert resources to search for them, guards who could be on the front lines, trains used for prisoner transport instead of military supplies. From Switzerland, through diplomatic channels, you're eventually repatriated to Britain. You return to your unit, to your family, to a life that seems both familiar and completely foreign. People thank you for your service, celebrate your escape, call you brave. But you don't feel brave. You feel lucky. You think about the guard who barely looked at your papers, the old woman who fed you, the resistance fighter who hid you, the countless tiny chances that went right instead of wrong. The experience changes you permanently. You can never take freedom for granted again. The simple ability to walk down a street without fear, to eat when you're hungry, to sleep without being woken for roll call. These things that seemed ordinary before now feel precious. You find yourself unable to throw away food, hoarding supplies, always checking exits, always planning escape routes even though you're safe now. Years later, after the war ends, you try to find some of the people who helped you. The old woman who gave you food, the resistance fighter who hid you. Some you locate, some have been lost to the chaos of war. To those you find, you keep your promise. You tell their stories. You make sure people know what they risked, what they sacrificed. Some want no recognition, prefer to stay anonymous. Others accept your gratitude quietly, saying only that they did what anyone should do. You're asked often what the escape taught you, what wisdom you gained from those weeks of running. The truth is complicated. You learned that humans can endure more than they think possible, that freedom is worth any risk, that kindness exists even in the darkest times, that survival often comes down to luck as much as skill or courage, that the line between captor and prisoner, between safety and danger, is thinner than anyone wants to believe. You also learn darker things, that you can become an animal when you have to, thinking only of survival, that you're capable of stealing, lying, doing whatever it takes to stay alive, that the world is full of people who will either help you or turn you in, and you can't always tell which kind you're facing until it's too late, that escaping the physical camp was only part of freedom. Escaping the psychological prison takes much longer. The story of your escape becomes part of your identity. People introduce you at parties as the man who escaped from the Germans. Children ask you to tell the story again and again, eyes wide with excitement. But you notice you edit the story depending on the audience. To children, it's an adventure. To other veterans, you tell more of the truth. The fear, the close calls, the luck. To yourself, late at night when you can't sleep, you remember even more. The moments of absolute terror, the times you nearly gave up, the guilt about those who didn't make it. In your old age, you reflect on how that escape defined you more than almost anything else in your life. It was less than 3 weeks out of a long life, but those 3 weeks contained more fear, more intensity, more genuine stakes than years of normal living. You were more alive during those weeks than you've been before or since. Every sense heightened, every decision crucial. It's a strange thing to admit, but part of you misses it. Not the camp itself, not the suffering, but the clarity. The simple, pure goal of survival and freedom. You think about the randomness of it all. If the guard had looked more carefully at your papers. If the old woman had called the police. If you'd been spotted at the border. If any of 1,000 things had gone differently, you'd have been caught, sent back, maybe shot. Your whole life since then, marriage, children, career, all of it, exists only because of luck. It's humbling and terrifying in equal measure. You also think about what it means that you were one of the lucky ones. You were a prisoner of war, treated relatively well under the Geneva Convention. Others suffered far worse. Concentration camp prisoners, political prisoners, civilians caught in occupied territory. Your escape was difficult, but you had allies, you had some resources, you had a destination that would accept you. So many others had none of that. Your escape story, dramatic as it was to you, is just one small thread in the vast tapestry of wartime suffering and survival. The question, what if you escaped from a German POW camp, has an answer now, at least for you. You survived. You made it. But you carry those weeks with you forever, in dreams and memories, in habits and fears, in a profound understanding of what freedom costs and what humans will do to achieve it. The camp may have held your body for months, But those weeks of escape still hold a piece of your mind decades later. And perhaps that's the final lesson. There's no complete escape. The experiences that test us, that nearly break us, become part of who we are. You got out of the camp, across the border, home to safety. But in another sense, you're still running through that forest, still crawling through that tunnel, still approaching that border. The prisoner you were and the free man you became exist together, inseparable, each understanding what the other can never fully explain to anyone who wasn't there.